Welcome to the September 21st, 2021 episode of Reactive Consciousness. That's a lot of 21s. The in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
21. 35. Lotus Prince.
You don't gamble anyway, Lotus Prince.
No, so. I completely forgot my age for just a second. I got so caught up in your intro.
But you could become the president now, can't you?
Technically, yeah. The next election cycle, I could theoretically do it.
I think that's the last age limit before it's like an age restriction. like you can't if you're or no we can't senior benefits, I guess,
Well, I was gonna say I still need an ID to rent ultra porn.
I was just thinking about we still can't get on the early bird special at the Sizzler.
Son of a bitch. Jokes on them. I don't like getting up early. I didn't want maybe I did, but I didn't want to get up early for your special anyway.
It's not what the early bird is. But anyway.
They get the worm. The Sizzler special is the worm. You can't walk with a regular step or you'll attract the worm.
God damn,
I forgot the actual I forgot the I say lyrics. I know it's from Dune, but what was it? Like, you can't
if you walk without rhythm.
Without rhythm. Yeah, you won't attract the worm. And then Christopher Walken starts flying.
Yeah. So just to give you one of the most famous Fatboy Slim songs has big old references to Dune in it.
You know what drives me crazy? I always think Biggie Smalls first because both of their rapper names are direct opposites of themselves. Small, Fatboy Slim.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the idea. Fatboy Slim was always kind of tongue in cheek. But anyway.
And a secret nerd.
I don't think it was ever a secret.
Oh, all right, well,
he's always been a big old nerd.
Fair enough.
A lot of his music videos were directed by Spike Jonze, who's also awesome and nerdy as well. So anyway, we have to get on with the show because there was a lot of weird and also bummer stuff. Lots of bummer stuff, but there's also some good stuff in here, and quite a bit to talk about. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is probably the game that basically came out of nowhere. I don't believe I ever heard about this game before it was reviewed by everyone.
It's kind of funny because I hadn't either, but I saw comments about it that said geez, this keeps getting marketed. They're gonna release the damn thing or what? And I was like, huh, what?
I never heard about it. Which just means that I'm out of touch. The places that I hang out are not the places that everybody else hangs out, apparently. But
so back to our topical show.
But yeah, Deathloop by Bethesda, the developer of the developer that did the Dishonored games, I believe. Made Deathloop, which is a new first-person shooter that I heard a critic describe as the original Deus Ex meets Majora's Mask, which I think is pretty apt, actually. I can
kind of see it based on what little gameplay I've seen and what I've heard of the premise.
I think it has a lot in common with the original BioShock as well, but I'll get into that.
Oh, you mean System Shock 2?
No, specifically BioShock.
No, I know, fair enough. It was just a joke about how the original BioShock is System Shock 2.
You know better with me, though.
Have you ever heard of System Shock 2?
Yes.
Have you heard of System Shock 1?
I actually played a lot more System Shock 1 than most people have, so...
Yeah, I've only dabbled in it.
I got halfway through it. But anyway... which is a lot,
which
considering...
is more than most people.
Yeah, I mean, it is an operation. It's an exercise in futility.
I was just about to say you only played halfway through the game, but you played through more than most people. And I was like, no, wait, that's true though.
No, it is probably the most clunky, controlling first-person shooter I've ever played in my life. It is rewarding, but Jesus Christ, it is so difficult to move around in that game. But anyway, and that's with the modern enhancements. OG, I played it a bit and tried to get out of the first fucking area. But yeah, Deathloop. I actually downloaded it because I couldn't help myself, because I was like, oh goddamn, like it wasn't just like one or two websites, it was like every website was giving this a 10, and that is very unusual. Usually you see some variance in opinion, or and you see a couple 10s, but like everybody was giving this a 10, which is really nuts. And I can, unfortunately, a lot of people are not going to be able to play it, because you'll either need a PS5, one of the new Xboxes. No, it's a console exclusive. I'm sorry. It's a PS5, which is odd because Microsoft is the publisher, or the publisher, because they own Bethesda. So it is a PS5 exclusive on consoles. But I was able to get it running on my laptop, thankfully, on low settings, and I have a pretty new laptop. But it is pretty hefty. It kind of plays just kind of like Majora's Mask, I guess you could say, in terms of there is a loop of events going on, and
you have to use an N64 controller.
Yeah, and
that's how it plays.
It's unlike all of its predecessors, and nobody likes it right now, but everybody will love it in the future.
It'll be the best game in the series, and in the future, in 3 years, and whatever the new game is the one that sucks.
Yeah, but no, seriously, this nobody's gonna say that about Breath of the Wild. Everybody loves Breath of the Wild, but anyway, this game I played a little bit of it, and I am enjoying it a lot so far. I mean, obviously, I have barely touched the surface with it, but there are... so, in terms of Deus Ex, I think what they... I tried not to, dabble too much in the reviews, because I really wanted to know nothing about it if it was this good. And for the most part, I still don't know a whole lot about it, because the game holds its secrets very well. What it's about and what it's doing, and that's part of the charm. Kind of, like the original Matrix, you don't know what the fuck is going on until halfway through the movie. That is pretty much the case in this one. But I can say this, that when you die, your day starts over, so you have to collect everything except for your loadout for a given section. There are certain sections of the game that you have to get through, and they're like big hubs. Like the first area is just basically like a training area, but once you die, you get sent back to the beginning of the entirety of the events. You lose your entire inventory, except what you started that area with. So there is checkpoints in a way, like, because the hub is the loop that you're in at any given time, rather than the whole game. But yeah, I mean, it's a little less frustrating than that, but it's pretty interesting that way. It has a kind of a funny aesthetic. It looks like 60s, like 1960s, like technology, and like how like BioShock was Art Deco. Well, this is like 1960s furniture. Like, it looks like like Clockwork Orange kind of stuff, going on, and but anyway,
giant
like
penis sculpture.
Yeah, exactly. Like kind of like that pop arty kind of thing going on, or early 70s, late 60s stuff. The kind of futuristic looking Jetsons kind of stuff.
With like the bubble cars.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on, but like in terms of like the aesthetics of like the lounge areas, like you look at that and you're like, oh, that looks like from like one of the Sean Connery James Bonds, that kind of thing. So yeah, you don't know with what's going on in the game, except that you need to break the loop of whatever that is. the enemies in the game behave a lot, or just feel to me a lot like the splicers in in BioShock, and that's why I say that. And it kind of just feels that way. It feels like everybody's after drugs in the game, and it feels like Adam, like the relationship with Adam in BioShock to me.
Adam is a person.
You know what I mean.
Fuck.
But you know, like everybody was after the little sisters because they had Adam. In BioShock, that was unique about BioShock. You can't say it stole everything from previous work, but
yes, I can. Adam is straight up cybernetic modules.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
That's literally a 1-to-1 comparison.
Okay, all
and
right,
Eve was Psy.
Fair enough.
I know BioShock to a degree was its own thing, but like it's underwater System Shock 2, except with Ayn Rand.
Okay, fair enough. But this was just really interesting. So so far so good. The reason why I think they're saying it's Deus Ex is like the way that you upgrade. You get upgrades.
Sure.
And there hasn't been like heavy dialogue tree kind of stuff or anything like that like in Deus Ex. It's also not like super stat driven, at least yet. So I can't comment on that either.
I was going to say, as far as Deus Ex is concerned, it's an FPS where you upgrade yourself and I guess also your guns, maybe. If you're in a loop, I don't know if that'll really stick.
I think there's a greater emphasis on hacking, which is also
that's
a
clearly Deus Ex. Well,
BioShock and Deus Ex.
Yeah, and BioShock, except I don't think you're playing Pipe Dream this time.
No, but there is that. You're hacking turrets and security cameras.
Yeah, that's on the nose, yeah.
And what I was going to say is the heaviest influence seems to come from the fact that it doesn't appear to me so far that you have to kill anybody. It is a choice.
Well, that's also Deus Ex, where
exactly.
Oftentimes you're better off not killing people.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, because this is a loop, this makes me wonder. It makes me think of oh, this is gonna make me mad. The Sexy Brutale, where one way to pass one of the sections was to intentionally fail to save the person, and then you pick up something off of that person's body, and you're like, that's a clue that I never would have gotten if I'd actually succeeded. So with Deathloop, I suspect you may want to fail just so you, the player, learn something that you can make use of later.
Well, there is some intentional deaths in the game.
Okay.
Like you get reset back, but you find out something you would have normally not figured out.
Yeah, exactly. Like if there's an escort mission, like let the escort die. Oh no, I blew it, and then see what happens as a result of that, or whatever. There's stuff where you really wouldn't want to fail, but maybe you do.
There's something that happens early on in the game that trigger something, there's some semi-permanence, just like there is with Majora's Mask, so it's not completely
Majora's Mask. There was some fudging. The Bomber's Journal was always updated so you wouldn't go insane trying to remember everything. That was nice. It sounds like you said with Deathloop you keep your loadout at the very beginning but lose everything else. With Majora's Mask, you would keep the new weapons, but you would lose whatever ammo you had for them. So, okay. Yeah,
so, for instance, I moved on to the first big hub, so, like, everything that I found in the training hub has followed through with me. I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know if there's, like, multiple. I assume that there are multiple endings in the game, but I don't know if there's a morality thing going on. Like, if I kill anybody, is it a bad? Or I have no idea.
You could undo it anyway. Be kind of cute.
I don't know that actually.
Well, I guess from what you're working with now, maybe you think you could. I don't know, but be kind of cute if you got an ending and then just shot yourself in the head and then went for a different ending.
Well, who appears to be the main antagonist in the game at the moment, who the person who's my rival, or so it seems at the moment, she has permanence. Like she keeps seeing you doing what you're doing, like loop after loop.
But by the way, if that happened to me in real life, that would be the scariest thing. You know, it's like, imagine living in a world like Groundhog Day. You know, imagine being Bill Murray on Groundhog Day, but all of a sudden there's a person who recognizes what he did the previous day before, but she's the only one. That would be horrifying.
Yeah. So it would be like the insurance salesman that he befriends every single day.
Yeah, why did you punch me that one time? What the fuck? Oh no! Oh no!
He's the only one who could see through the loop. But
there actually was an episode. It was some kids' cartoon. Like, this is a weird thing to bring up, but it might have been Pepper Ann, where it was like the bad
Pepper
ending.
Ann.
Yeah, I know. It was. It might not have been the show, but I think it was. But like, it was the bad end of Groundhog Day. It was like the most horrific thing I could think of, because she eventually pulled a Bill Murray and was like, fuck it, and started just like messing with everybody,
killing everybody,
causing trouble. Well, not that far. It's fucking Pepper Ann, but like, but she started just flipping out and insulting people and whatever. It doesn't matter. And then the next day, time did not reset, and she's like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm out of the loop, but, oh, fuck. So she had to, like, apologize to everybody. Yeah, well, about that. Awkward. And then she goes to bed, and the next day, that day loops. So she has to apologize to everybody again. Like, that fucking blows. Like, that's the worst. You're looping the day where you actually suffer consequences for your actions.
Well, it's kind of like that in Westworld. Like the first season of Westworld, which is
really because the robots have to be reset because they're
on ground
doing they're doing a preset condition.
Yeah, so the hosts is what they're called. Yeah. The hosts are on a loop, but the guests are not.
The guests are the human tourists.
Correct.
Yeah, so each day a new person to be like, oh, I can't wait to see what Westworld is like, and then whatever plays out.
So a prominent guest actually basically like just keeps killing and raping and pillaging like day after day because there's no consequences to doing it.
Yeah.
Which shows you the other end of it. It's like there's absolutely no consequences to what he's doing. Yeah. And also the hosts can't fight back. Because
if they could, then you get movie Westworld, and it'd be a fucking apocalypse scenario.
Well, the TV show is more about how the hosts are exploited.
No, I mean, I get that, but if they could fight back, you'd have the movie, and that was a nightmare.
It's Jurassic Park. I mean, literally.
It just straight up, yeah. Like, what if the attractions just fucking killed you?
I don't know if you know this or not, but they were written by the same person. Westworld Westworld was written by Michael Crichton? Correct.
Whoa, I did not know that.
He literally copied his earlier idea and made it dinosaurs instead of robots.
I didn't know that because I only knew of Westworld as a movie, which was not done by Steven Spielberg. I always knew Jurassic Park was Michael Crichton, but I didn't realize that about Westworld.
Yeah, so
did Michael Crichton also write the Itchy and Scratchy Land episode of The Simpsons?
What I was going to say is he also wrote System Shock, by the way.
Michael Crichton did?
No, I'm joking
I was
about
like, what the fuck? All right.
A future work totally aping off of a previous work. Okay. What I'm going to say is, unlike all of the other games that Deathloop has been compared to so far, the action is fantastic and a lot of fun. The gunplay is really good. And it's a lot of fun to traverse. I've been just like exploring because I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Yeah.
They literally don't tell you what to do. It's like you're in this first hub. They give you a couple points of interest, but like literally you could just go around and fuck around.
Well, yeah, it's like if you're the actual character, like what do you do? I don't know.
They just give you a big sandbox and go like, here you go. Investigate, like that kind of thing. So I've been doing so far, and I found some like power lines that like are obviously like trying to lead me certain places so I can destroy generators. But like that's what I'm doing right now, because it's like, okay, well obviously I have to I have to shut down these generators so I can get into this place, and I have no idea why. So like I'm just doing it. But what I can say is, like, sliding, you could, like, it feels pretty, like most first-person shooters are not good at platforming or traversal, and
they've gotten better over time, but it's never as good as third person.
There have been quite a few good ones. Since early days. Metroid Prime was probably the first good one with platforming, or maybe Jumping Flash.
I was going to mention Jumping Flash, although how many people have really played that?
Well, I mean, Metroid Prime basically stole the mechanics of Jumping Flash, but a lot of people don't. Nobody even talks about that, but it's true. That's what happened. This. The Dying Light was has some really good traversal in it, like that kind of like the parkour kind of stuff, But this game has some really good, like, you could double jump like very early on in the game, and it feels good, and you can like grab ledges very easily. It does it automatically. And the shooting is a lot of fun. Like, it feels satisfying and good, even with just, like, the basic weapons that you find lying around. I'm having a blast with it so far. There are a fair amount of complaints about crashing and things like that. I'll warn everybody that this is a Bethesda game. You should have known better.
It's a Bethesda game at launch.
Yeah. It is going to be a classic. I can already tell. It's just people love it that much in the reviews, especially like companies that don't really have much love for Bethesda, including that includes Kotaku, because they have been blacklisted by Bethesda for things that happened a long time ago. So they have no reason to be nice to them. They don't have a advertising relationship with them, and they don't get any free copies or advanced copies or anything. And they gave it a 10, or they gave it a fantastic review. I don't think they give numbered reviews, but IGN gave it a 10. I mean, say what you want, but like a 10 means something. Like even if it comes from if it comes from a lot of people, it means something. So like it's definitely sussing out to be that way. So I'm enjoying it so far. I can see why people like it, but some of the complaints have been like early game. It is overwhelming because you don't know what to do, but eventually you figure out what you should be concentrating on. So, which is at the point I'm at, but that's okay. I'm kind of just exploring. So, but I do wonder about the overall, like, do my bodies stack up kind of thing, but so far it doesn't seem like that's the case. So, moving on from that, Eastbound is another game that got released this time around on the much smaller scale. That obviously Deathloop is a AAA game, but Eastbound is a very much an indie game that looks akin to like a very charming 16-bit RPG, obviously with much greater fidelity than that, but it has the aesthetic of it. Think kind of like Undertale or something like that. And it looks really good, and apparently it is not an RPG like what it kind of looks like it would be. Apparently it is an action adventure game, like a la Zelda or something like that. So it looks right up my alley, and I believe I'll play that too, because it looks amazing. And everybody's raving about that right now. And this was a big surprise, Lotus. Like we both saw this and we're like, wow, this is big news.
All it took was way too long.
The Nintendo Switch, that means all iterations of it, the Lite and the OLED and the OG, are getting Bluetooth auto capability. That means, for headphones, in particular, and for microphone, as well for online stuff that you can have that with, I think. But anyway, Bluetooth audio. and this requires nothing except a system update. So what this also should tell you is that your system was Bluetooth capable all along. They just did not enable it for audio. Which I could have told you that. Most controller bands are run off of just straight up Bluetooth. They might not advertise it, but it might be like a special version of Bluetooth, but it is Bluetooth. So their controllers run off of Bluetooth. The Wii's controller ran off of Bluetooth. I don't know if everybody knows that or not, but it does. So Nintendo kind of keeps that kind of stuff quiet, but it does. So I just thought that was interesting. I mean, people have been begging for this because they've been wanting to use their Apple headphones and all that kind of stuff with their system, like anything else that they have. And this is really good. Apparently, it does have a limitation though. You can only play up to two controllers can be connected along with your headphones. So I think that just has to do with how many bands the Bluetooth can zero in on. That's all. And this was a big surprise. Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale, released the new chapter of Deltarune, which is the follow-up to Undertale, I think.
Yeah,
Nobody really knows what to make of it.
I think there are nods to Undertale in it, and Deltarune, of course, the title is an anagram of Undertale.
Correct. And there are like crossover characters.
Yeah.
But so far, I think it's mostly like an on-rails experience. That it appears to be kind of... I haven't played it yet, so I should preface that, but I played a little bit of it, I should say, and it was basically just like an adventure game, like going around and talking to people, rather than any action scenarios or fighting scenarios, battle scenarios. But I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I haven't seen anything with any sort of battle screens or anything from it. But Toby Fox released Chapter 2 for free on itch.io.
I thought there were battle screens.
Oh, are there? I have no idea.
I mean, like it's an RPG.
Okay. I have no idea. I haven't played it yet. So I guess I shouldn't be commenting on that.
Yeah, I mean, like you could say that you just walk around and talk to people in Undertale too. Like it takes a second to get to a battle screen.
All right, fair enough. I think a lot of people don't know what to make of it or what the actual connections to Undertale are. Like people are trying to like suss out like what the lore is or whatever is going on in the two. But he released it for free on itch.io.
And I think on Steam as well.
Oh, okay, on Steam. I know that Deltarune Chapter 1 is on the Switch. I do not believe that Chapter 2 is on Switch yet.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just PC for now, but I'm sure it'll get there.
But what's also interesting about this is he said that he had originally planned on charging people for the rest of Deltarune, but
3 to 5. Yeah.
He will do that for 3 to 5, but for 2, he said that people have been having a really hard time lately, and he's in the position to be able to give it away, so he did.
Sure.
Which is a really pretty amazing thing, especially from somebody who had a runaway success. He's very thankful of his fan base. Obviously, he basically created Undertale almost entirely by himself with 2 other people on I think just basically art stuff, right?
I know Temmie did.
Yeah,
like I think like 100% of the visuals.
Yeah.
And Toby Fox did, I think, the programming and definitely the music. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the writing as well.
Yeah.
So I think it was like just 2-person team, 3-person team. So and completely creator controlled. So it obviously and a runaway success globally, not just in the United States. In Japan, they love it.
Fucking smash.
Yeah, they love Undertale in Japan, which is very unusual. for a Western made RPG.
It is Earthbound 2, and I don't mean Earthbound. I don't mean Mother 3. But
yeah,
I do remember though. Sakurai,
he replicated the vibe so well.
Yeah.
That people loved it over there too. So.
That said, though, I do remember when Sakurai announced Sans, in Smash as the, what are they called? The Mii Fighters?
Yeah, the Mii Fighters.
Where he introduced Undertale. He's like, it's a like an RPG that got very popular in the West or something like that.
Yeah. But I it's just like kudos to him for releasing this, for people's enjoyment. He said it's been a tough time. I don't need to explain why. I mean, we've all been having it. So it's pretty awesome. The next one I wanted you to delve into, like I know you told me about it, but I know what it is, but I just think you have a little bit of special place in your heart.
There's very little to delve into, but Street Fighter V got a DLC. Like, I guess it's just a costume because I don't think there are any unique moves. But Cyber Akuma, baby, Cyber Akuma's in Street Fighter V. Like, I think it's probably just Akuma, except he has the metal wings and everything, which come out when he does like jumping attacks and stuff like that.
It's just a costume. It's not.
So the wings come out when he does certain jumping things, and he can't shoot missiles from his crazy cyber arm. But it's Cyber Akuma. That's amusing. That's amusing to me.
Yeah. A lot of people are just saying like, just make another MVC Capcom. Like, get the MVC game.
Erase the taste of Infinite from our mouths.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just forgot that the game even existed, which is kind of funny. I think it's the only one that you can play as Mark Hagar in, which is kind of funny. But yeah. And then the next one, I'll let you do this. I did a little bit of extra research just so we can talk about it a little bit.
This is interesting. So Power Rangers Battle for the Grid has been out for a long time, and it keeps getting updates with more and more characters. It's
pretty popular.
Yeah, it actually is. And like, I'm not a big Power Rangers person. I watched the first couple of seasons and that was it. So I was still on the Mighty Morphin stuff. I kind of fell off afterward.
I got all the way to Turbo, I think.
Yeah, I didn't make it that far. But if you're like a Power Rangers fan, they have a bunch of characters. You're like, oh, they have that person? But they added 3 characters, 2 of whom I actually know who they are. And I'm shocked by one of them. So one of them is Adam Park, who was the Black Ranger back in Mighty Morphin. Not Zack, he was the second Black Ranger.
He was the Ninja Ranger.
Yeah, but he was he was someone that I've actually seen on TV, so we're really going back old school. Then there's Poisandra from Dino Charge. I don't know who that character is, but
I think she's just the bad guy, the main bad guy.
Fair enough. I just love that they're bringing all these crazy characters. Here's the one that I find crazy, though, because, I don't know if this person's ever been playable in anything. But Rita Repulsa, the villain who never fights.
The OG antagonist.
Yeah, she never fights. She's always the one who summons the monsters. But, she's playable. That's crazy. That's very amusing to me. After 10,000 years, I'm playable.
10,000 years, I'm playable.
Time to conquer the grid, I guess.
But this is pretty awesome. I mean, I was always a big fan of that because it added that I love that they did the dub, so it just had that extra cheesiness.
She really went over the top.
Yeah.
All of the bad guys had goofy voices. Goldar's was more intimidating, but it was still silly because I'll get your rangers. It honestly, it sounds probably like, if I could understand Japanese, what the Japanese voice actors were going for, because a lot of times when they do the voices, it sounds kind of cheesy.
Yeah,
to be fair though, sometimes the shows do go into more serious and darker content. The American version sometimes does, but I don't know about the Super
feel good for the most part.
I don't know about the Super Sentai stuff, but they'll threaten or kill kids in Kamen Rider and shit. So you never know. So they can get for real, but they still have their share of hokiness, including with the voice acting from what I could tell. So America went they went full on goofy with it, and it's great.
Yeah, well, I think this is cool. I mean, and also they're adding obviously a fan favorite, for the OG. People,
Pulse's she's got to be a sorcerer character. I can't imagine her going full melee, maybe with her staff a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think that Lord Zed would be more geared towards physical combat.
He's been playable. By the way, I believe Lord Zed was straight up America exclusive, like on TV.
Oh,
I think he was like specifically designed for the American show. He was never in Super Sentai.
Really?
I think so.
Well, that's interesting because they have scenes with Rita interacting with Lord Zed, so that obviously because they're married. But yeah,
I don't know how that worked, honestly. But
they must have hired her back for more footage later.
Maybe because it says he was played by Edwin Neal with Robert Axelrod doing the voice. Like he was just played by a Westerner, you know.
Well, I do know they used the original Rita for a few things, including the original movie. I think, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, unless they hired a different actress for that, but I don't think they did. It looked like her, but
as far as I could tell, but I don't know.
They got a look-alike. I don't know, but that's pretty cool. And similarly, in Nostalgia Fighters, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl confirms another 90s Nicktoon favorite, probably the biggest Nicktoon favorite, Ren and Stimpy from that era. Your own feelings about the creator aside, Ren and Stimpy are hugely influential and were a big part of a lot of kids' lives from our age group in particular. It's undeniable how funny and influential they were, but we've seen some pretty darn good like Ren and Stimpy clips though, right?
I've seen a few.
Like the working man's hands.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Why did they bury the fireman behind the hill?
Because he was dead!
Because he was dead! Pretty funny, right? I'm like, oh, this is terrifying. Like, get me out of this scene right now. It's
so good. George Liquor, right? Isn't it George Liquor?
I don't remember. I've only seen the clip once.
Yeah.
These are the hands of working man.
It just has like crags.
And Ren is like terrified.
Mountains on those hands.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
But yeah, I could see this happening because in the original announcement we had Powdered Toast Man, so he's obviously a side character in Ren and Stimpy. But what's cool about this is that Ren and Stimpy are not separate characters; they are a single double character, kind of like Nana and Popo.
Climbers. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nana and Popo, or Duck Hunt and the Duck.
Yeah.
Duck Hunt Dog and the Duck. But yeah, whatever. But yeah, they attack in tandem and act in tandem.
Yeah, it's clever.
Yeah, they probably smack their butts together quite often. I would assume, like they're doing during Happy Joy or whatever.
I have seen that. That's probably the most famous Ren and Stimpy thing there is.
Well, I mean, the first 4 episodes of Ren and Stimpy were played over and over and over again because that's what John Kay had done. He had only done 4 episodes, and then he got fired because he's a gigantic asshole.
Yeah.
But that everybody knows the first 4 episodes extremely well, and then of course the seasons after that took a while to come about. But yeah, cool stuff. Moving on, this one was also yours.
Yeah, I don't know terribly much about this, but very interesting headline came up that Kiichiro Urata, who was the Capcom USA and Europe head, has been named Senior Vice President and Head of Japan/Asia Partners Development and Relations Division at PlayStation. So, that's interesting. I wonder if maybe he'll get Sony to stop being total assholes to Japan and to anime-looking games.
Yeah, I don't know why they're focusing on that thing in particular, but
even Doki Doki Literature Club, like the new ones, being censored to a degree only on PlayStation. The creators a little bit, yeah.
Wow.
The creators from fucking Jersey, get out of here.
Yeah, I don't get it. And it's also supposed to be a subversion.
Yeah, the game screams at you
genre.
how mature rated it is when you launch it. Like, we saw, like, multiple messages of it when we played it back in the day. Like, we get it.
Yeah. Moving on from that, there was a new KOF character announced. I forgot to talk about this a little earlier, along with the other fighters. But so KOF 15 has Kukri, who looks really pretty cool. He has a lot of aerial attacks.
Interesting name. Isn't kukri a type of, like, Indian knife? Like a weapon?
Oh, I have no idea.
That sounds familiar. I could have sworn that's what, like, this is a weird reference to bring up, but if you've ever read Bram Stoker's Dracula, I'm reasonably sure that at least one of the people in the party equipped themselves with kukri knives when they were going to hunt down Dracula at the end.
Wow. Well, this character looks pretty cool. He has a hooded facade. You can't see his face, so it's pretty neat. But he also looks like he has some weird bendy movement as well. So
I'll have to look this person up.
Yeah, looks pretty awesome. But anyway, moving on from that, also other SNK announcement. Metal Slug first and second mission. These are the Neo Geo Pocket Color Metal Slug games. Double pack. So it comes with both games. Is out now on the Switch. These games are a lot of fun and they're very good. And they're original Metal Slug games. I mean, they were not like downgraded, versions of the arcade ones. I definitely recommend this if you want to try it out. I think it's $7.99 for the two of them. I will remind people that it is included in the big Neo Geo Pocket Collection that is coming out from Limited Run. But also if you had downloaded the big collection as well.
Yeah, and I think someone else is selling it physically too, maybe Pix and Love or something, and possibly Play Asia. But Limited Run certainly had it.
Well, this one's cool because you could buy it a la carte now. So like you could pick your favorites. I think the only game that there's only like one or two games that is not a la carte right now. Then,
speaking of a la carte,
what a segue.
Yeah, excellent.
But yeah, Castlevania GBA collection was rated for Taiwan. So it basically confirms the GBA collection for worldwide when something like that happens.
Taiwan's been there have been a lot of releases that have been rated by Taiwan and then confirmed like a week later.
I mean, you can rate this you can put this under rumor, but basically not a rumor.
Yeah, it's been pretty reliable so far.
Yeah. So this is cool. This would be Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Aria of Sorrow. Of the three, Aria of Sorrow is absolutely the essential one. You should definitely play that. It is the first one with Soma Cruz. Soma Cruz returns in the sequel, Dawn of Sorrow for the DS. It has that DS acronym.
DS,
yeah. Which is one of the best Castlevania games. It really, really is. And Aria of Sorrow is no slouch. It's just not as good as its sequel, but it's the best of the GBA games for sure. Circle of the Moon is very outdated by today's standards. It's very simplistic, but it is still good. It was the first game that I think you could really call a Metroidvania, because Symphony of the Night was the first game. This was like the first game in its vein, if that makes any sense.
Oh, okay, yeah, Castlevania. Yeah, okay, so like it's like saying the original Metroid would not have been called a Metroidvania because the term wouldn't have existed because Castlevania didn't do that.
Correct.
So if Symphony of the Night, I mean, like, it is a Metroidvania, but you wouldn't have called it that then because you didn't associate Castlevania with Metroid yet. But now you do, so the next game comes out, it's like that Castlevania Symphony of the Night style game.
It's the first game to solidify the formula.
This wasn't just a weird one-off experiment like,
Correct.
Judgment or something. Like, we're going to keep doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So, it came out when the GBA was brand new. It was a launch game. It was that, Iridian 3D, and Super Mario Brothers Advance, which is like a newer version of Mario 2.
I would say as far as you get.
But where they gave Toad a voice, and now we all cringe. And Birdo. I actually might like that version of it the best. But anyway, I was over the moon. I bought a GBA specifically because I was a gigantic Symphony of the Night fan.
It's Circle of the Moon.
Yeah, didn't I say that?
No, I mean, you said I was over the moon. I was...
jeez. But anyway, it is a very dark game, so in particular, it was one of the hardest to see when the original Game Boy Advance came out because there was no backlight. Once you had a Game Boy Advance SP, or you could play it on a Game Boy player, obviously you didn't have that issue, but it was well known for that time. But it was pretty good. The next one was actually the second Castlevania game that Koji Igarashi really had a big part in after Dracula X, after Symphony of the Night and Dracula X. So I guess the third game, so that he had a big part in. So the Circle of the Moon had Koji Igarashi did not work on, except for maybe publicity. So he promptly wrote that game out of the timeline. Because I think he had issues with it because, if the main character is not a Belmont, and the kind of makes the Belmonts look bad
they're no longer like the destined ones to fight Dracula. Just anybody
Correct.
could do it. They're the only ones who felt like it, I guess.
Exactly, and he wielded the whip in the game. So it was. I think he just wrote that part out. So Harmony of Despair. Or is it Harmony of Despair or Harmony of Dissonance? I always get the two confused. One of them's the 360 weird loot game, and the other one is the Game Boy Advance game.
Harmony of Dissonance.
It's Harmony of Dissonance. Okay, Harmony of Despair is the HD one. HD okay. Harmony of Despair. Anyway, Harmony of Dissonance is actually pretty underrated, but the music does take a big hit in this game. It does not sound very good because it's heavily compressed. So, but I'm going to recommend it overall because the games are fun. I think all three are worth playing, but especially the final game. I am I'm glad that it's coming out. The only other time these games have been re-released was for the Wii U. So this would bring this forward. But it's like let's get to the fireworks factory. Like, please give me the DS games, which would be a bigger accomplishment. All three DS games are fantastic. I can honestly say that all three are amazing, and are all completely worth your time. Actually, there are a lot of is a pretty big debate as to which of the three is the best. There are plenty of opinions about it, and all three games come up as the best. So I really want that DS collection, but I know it's a tall order considering there haven't been many DS games ported to the Switch. There have been basically the two Mega Man ZX games and The World Ends With You. They're the only games I can think of. Can you think of any other
even
DS
The
games?
World Ends With You was like a
Not
version
good.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And a bastardized version. The Mega Man games actually turned out really well on the Switch, but that's besides the point. I just hope it comes at some point. You posted about this as well. This is really interesting. Another mark in the saga for this.
You might know more about this than I would, but we've talked about Project Deluge before. They're the group that every so often releases. They just dump like giant amounts of files of. Hidden Palace.
It's Hidden Palace.
Yeah, Hidden Palace. They drop a lot of, betas or demos of stuff that we didn't know about. Or like almost finished versions of games that were being worked on but died or whatever. Well, they've done it again, and they dropped a ton of Dreamcast and original Xbox stuff. So get a load of all this.
Most of them are demos or beta versions of games that did come out, though.
I think there was... I forgot what it was called. Something like Shanghai or whatever. There was one game that was like an English version of a game that was never actually released in English.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's always neat when that comes out. And I'm wondering whether there's a prototype version of Mach-In X in here. And I'm kind of hoping that they kept the Space Pope in it. Because that was taken out of the Western versions, because it's a derivative game of Shin Megami Tensei, so obviously you're fighting Christianity or Christian tropes. So I think this is really neat. I mean, what's cool about this is you can look at these prototypes and see if there was any cut or censored content. There might be some valuable stuff in this.
Yeah, I like doing that stuff.
OG Xbox has plenty of cool stuff like that I already know about. So having a big dump for the Dreamcast is also really cool. So I think I would like to check some of this stuff out, especially considering that it's pretty easy to get this kind of stuff running on either system. So that's pretty cool. There's a Dino Crisis 3 prototype there, Lotus.
Yes.
But yeah, there's I don't think this game exists. Dinosaur Hunting Ushinawarita Daichi? I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. That's for the OG Xbox apparently. So yeah, interesting. So some prototypes and stuff. That's pretty awesome. Okay, moving on from that. So it's that time of year again, Lotus.
Oh, September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things to follow, but I've never actually delved into it. But I just love the fact that it's happening. There is the Haunted PS1 demo disc game jam for 2021. I'm very excited that they are continuing on this tradition of making games in the aesthetic of PlayStation 1 horror games and releasing it as freeware. I just think it's really cool. So they did this once before with the Haunted PS1 Demo Disc 2020, but they also did a Christmas-themed one called the Haunted PS1 Mad Event Calendar. So I guess they technically done 3 like this. So this is the third. So I'm excited. Let's see what this includes. Games are Echo Status, Agony of a Dying MMO, An Outcry, Apolysis, Chasing Static. Oh man, there's tons of them. So I'm not gonna read them all.
Yeah,
But...
I mean, and unless you've been following them yourselves, you don't know what they are anyway because they're all original games. But they're always cool.
Yeah, they're all a lot of Kingsfield ass looking games. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're going full retro.
Yeah. Oh, the one's called Fiend's Isle, and it looks straight up like Kingsfield.
Okay.
So yeah, even with the UI and everything. So I think that would be the idea on that one. But Yeah, I mean, we love us some PS1 horror games, and having like little bite-sized, like, horror experiences that are done in this aesthetic is just fantastic. And I think it's run by like a really young person, like I think they're like in their like early 20s. That just blows my mind that they have an appreciation for this kind of thing that me and Lotus grew up with. This is like before their time kind of stuff.
Well,
but
they would have caught their parents playing it or something.
Or, like they had like an old system lying around and played it when they were kids. But I'm just always surprised that there's an appreciation for the janky stuff that we had when we were kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's really awesome, especially like the PS1 aesthetic is very underutilized. I think because the low poly look is was not always great, but I think if intentionally used, it's really cool, But at the time, it could be pretty ugly if you remember, if you go back to it, and you frequently do. So,
yep. I just beat Armored Core Project Phantasma.
How'd you like that?
It generally looks pretty good, but there's this one part where it's like, we need to get this human out of this building, and there's like a little scene where you see the human walk out, and it's like the worst thing you've ever seen.
It looks like a doll.
It's so bad, and he's tiny because you're in giant mech, so you're like, what is this?
I just wanted to throw this out quickly because we don't really talk about like the things that we're doing very, very often, because that was our previous format, and we haven't done that in a long time. But every once in a while I like to throw something like that out there. I saw a documentary on the works of Chris Claremont, in particular like the X-Men stories that he wrote. He's famous for the early 80s stuff that has inspired almost all of the movies, except for like the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby stuff from the very beginning. So like Chris Claremont is the reason why Wolverine is a thing, for instance. He really gave the characterization to Wolverine. He did not create Wolverine, but he gave him everything that you know about him. Let's just put it that way. He did not have well-defined powers and abilities until Chris Claremont got a hold of him.
He was just a wild man against Hulk.
He was literally like a throwaway character used in a Hulk comic.
I guess you could say that Chris Claremont is, excluding the toxic relationship, you could say that Chris Claremont is kind of like the Bill Finger of Wolverine. He like fine-tuned him.
Well, I would go as far as to say that Bill Finger is basically the creator of the Joker.
I mean he really is, but like Bob Kane gets the credit even though he didn't make the Batman we know of today.
It's kind of like saying, a lot of people say that Steve Ditko is the creator of Spider-Man and not Stan Lee. Because Stan Lee was like, oh, I invented a superhero that has like, spider capabilities, like spider powers.
Yeah.
But it was Steve Ditko who drew him and created his overall design and also like informed Peter's like personality, for instance. So like he's the one that suggested he be like a wise quipping character. He's the reason why he made him a nerd and kind of like almost like a beatnik at the time. So yeah, he was a kind of a counterculture character. Peter Parker was. He wasn't like he wasn't Captain America, which would be the status quo.
Yeah.
Or he wasn't a Boy Scout. He was just a guy getting along on his artsy fartsy job of taking pictures. So yeah. But yeah, I don't know what you. I don't know who you could give him as a general analog, but like he's the reason why he has the healing factor he does, and I think in the original characterization they didn't confirm this, but like they I think the original creator didn't even have like a like an explanation for the claws that Wolverine had.
He's a guy. He has claws. Oh god,
yeah, exactly.
God, he's got claws. Like, yeah, well, that, I mean, this was the '60s. I don't know how many people were thinking like, but where do the claws come from? How does this make sense with continuity? It's like, fuck it. It's a bad guy with claws. You're not gonna remember him. He's a one-off.
Wolverine would be the late '70s, but
fair enough. But even so, he's a one-off guy. Oh, he's got claws this time. Let's see how Hulk beats him, and then goes to the next story. Then I'll forget about this one tomorrow.
But what I mean is, like, I think even the original person was just like, I guess it's part of his gloves. You know, it wasn't even just like, you know, like like it came out of his like hands.
Yeah,
you know, like Claremont literally came up with the personalities of almost all of the second run of X-Men, which everybody loves, with starting with Giant Size X-Men, which he didn't write, but he gave all the characters that were introduced their personalities, which include...
because in old school X-Men, they really pushed that they were just students at a school.
Correct.
So it's like, yes, Professor. It's so weird.
So the OG X-Men, the OG team, was Jean Grey, who was what did they call her? Marvel Girl. Marvel Girl. Yeah. Marvel Girl, Cyclops, Iceman, Beast before he was blue, and
he was just a guy with giant hands and feet.
And Angel before he was Archangel, right?
Archangel was like Apocalypse, I think. Like,
yeah, which was the 80s.
So Angel was just like a guy with wings, yeah.
Yeah. So, so those 5 characters and Professor X, right? Versus the League of Evil Mutants, which was Magneto, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and the Toad. Okay. Yeah. And the Blob later on, right? So those were the characters in X-Men. It failed, and then they like it didn't do well. It was like a critical darling, but it like people didn't read it, so they started doing reprints of the old issues. So there's actually like a run of the original X-Men comic where like the new issues are actually like old reprinted issues. Okay. So, like, if you collect all of, like, the run of the X-Men, you're actually... Some of them are going to be reprints.
By the way, you know what you know what I think was the case? I'm not 100% sure, but I think this was the case. Didn't the X-Men have, like, the same kind of uniform in the original runs?
Yes.
They all wore the same
they all wore yellow and blue.
That's with the X... Because, like, now we all know them not having uniforms, because the whole point is diversity. They all have completely unique costumes, but that wasn't always the case.
Except for the movie era where they all went black for a little bit.
But even then, it's like that defeats the purpose of the uniformity. But like, ironically, that was the old comics. Although I think didn't Marvel Girl just have the green dress, or was they even that later?
That was later. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
So anyway, so Chris Claremont, they basically rebooted X-Men with the International X-Men. In Giant Size X-Men #1, first starting with Nightcrawler, and then they added Colossus, Wolverine, a lot of them, Sunfire, who's a character who isn't very well known, Banshee, and Wolverine.
You mentioned Wolverine already.
And Storm. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And Storm. So those are the big ones, right?
Or did they ever have Cyclops?
Cyclops, they had the old characters too, but they added these ones.
Okay.
These were the international X-Men because you had Wolverine from Canada. You had
Storm is from Africa. Nightcrawler's from Germany.
Correct.
Sunfire, I have no idea. Banshee
Japan.
is okay. Japan. Banshee is Ireland.
Irish, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, and also you have Colossus, who's Russian, and at the time, it was kind of like a Star Trek thing,
can you do that?
Yeah, exactly, like a good guy from Russia, what?
Yeah.
It's like in Star Trek, Chekhov was the good guy from Russia, like it was promoting togetherness and whatever. But so they had this issue, and they fought like a mutant island, if you could believe it. They fought a mutant island, and then Chris Claremont took over the regular series after that. So like he came up with the characterization of all of those new characters. Like he didn't invent them, but he made them into the characters you love. Yeah, like there are big Nightcrawler fans out there, for instance, and obviously Wolverine. So he's the reason why Wolverine's popular. He just 100% is.
Before I really knew who the X-Men were, I had at least heard of Wolverine, and once I started looking into the X-Men, I quickly liked Nightcrawler.
And Storm, that's the other like big one. Colossus.
She's like the leader of like. Remember back in the day they had like Blue Team and Gold Team or something like that? She was the leader of one of those.
Yeah, she and Cyclops are the two leaders,
yes.
Right? Were the two leaders at the time. She is now the queen of Wakanda.
Yeah, she married Black Panther, I think?
Yep, Black Panther. Yep. T'Challa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, man, this stuff was really great, and he basically had a 15-year run just writing X-Men, and I think he even like characterized Rogue at the time, like all these like characters that were like
Rogue was really interesting because she was a villain, but they gave her that whole thing where she absorbed way too much of Miss Marvel's power to the point where it stuck. That's why she can fly and has super strength. She normally didn't have that. It was just touch you and hurt you.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna make that into the MCU, because I mean Carol Danvers is pretty.
That would be gutsy. Yeah,
a pretty damn prominent character. So which is really funny considering that like Rogue was way bigger than Carol Danvers ever was.
Well, that was the thing. Like by the time people really got into X-Men and learned who Rogue was, I don't even know if they knew who. Not even Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel was, or how Rogue got her powers. I think it was just, her powers are she's strong, she could fly, and she could absorb. What a broken character! And like, I don't think they even knew what her origin was. Even in the animated series, like, they showed how Rogue got her powers like way later on. Even in the comics, I think they actually showed you the flashback of how she got her powers from Carol Danvers way later.
Yeah. It's really interesting what they did there. But I hope they do that story, because it'd be awesome just to have Flying Rogue again, because the movies never had Flying Rogue. They just had vanilla Rogue.
You know what was kind of funny is in the Deadpool video game, which there's a lot of jokes in that game that have not aged well, and I think the game is kind of mediocre anyway. But there is one part where I also think this joke hasn't aged well, because it makes fun of not even aged, it's just poorly thought out, because it makes fun of the people who play the fucking game. But I like the idea of the joke, which is, like, at some point the narrator just straight up comes in and talks to the player, and they're like, yes, we know that Rogue is flying in a continuity where she doesn't fly. Just, like, shut up.
Shut up, yeah.
I mean, they go into, like, the only people who would care about this are, like, basement-dwelling comic book nerds. But who do you think is playing the fucking game? But, like,
yeah, exactly.
But the premise of the joke was quite fun. Shut up, she could fly, it's cool. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, so, like, a lot of people don't know this, but there was a time where the popular version of Rogue flew and had super strength.
That was the version I knew. That was 90s Rogue.
Yep.
That was the one in the cartoon. You know, she could just fly, and, like, one of her her first appearance in the show, a Sentinel reaches out for her. I think she like grabs it by the hand and fucking shoulder flips a Sentinel and just drops it on its back. And you're like, what? Because that was when Jubilee first met the X-Men, where she's like, oh god, Sentinels, they're coming for me. I can't fight giant robots. And the X-Men come in and just clean house. And she's like, whoa. Like that was a great way to introduce the characters. Like, because Rogue's just hanging out with her, like, hey, hon, how you doing? And she just flips a fucking Sentinel, which is, like, taller than the building they're in.
Yeah, she's basically their Superman, but she's also cursed with that, you know, the no contact.
That's the thing. Yeah, Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel actually is the Superman or Supergirl character, but then Rogue stole a lot of her power.
Which makes her a really fucking interesting character, because she's tortured by her, not only her powers, but also her guilt.
That's the thing. Like, she was a straight-up villain at first.
Yeah.
But she eventually became good, but this went way too far, and yeah, she constantly feels terrible. Like, if she ever runs into Miss Marvel again, or Captain Marvel, depending on the continuity, like, it's just awkward. What do you say? Like, sorry? Like, I mean, I'm sure she has said that, but, like, what the fuck, man? She put her in a coma.
Gambit's okay with it, I guess, but, Anyway.
Well, Gambit's a guy. Like, there have been those kind of jokes all the time, like, if I have sex with you, it'll be enough to kill you. Like, I'll risk it, like that kind of, like, Gambit's totally that guy.
Well, I mean, she can only barely even kiss him. She can't even really even kiss him. So,
no, I know. There was a part where I think Morph, in the cartoon, Morph turned into Rogue and, like, hit on Gambit. So Gambit's like, really? All right. And then he goes to the real Rogue, who's in another room, who's just asleep, and he kisses her in the mouth and goes unconscious. And Rogue's like, you fucking idiot! What were you thinking?
Well, that's also the first episode, because Morph promptly dies.
I forgot about that. That was episode 1. By the way, can I just say...
Morph promptly dies.
Can I just say, by the way, I'm going off topic here, but that had one of the genuine, like, my favorite lines in the entire show, and it's not because of the line, but it's the context and the way it was delivered, where Morph is running away from the base, and he's got a gun, he got what he needs, he's ready to leave, and then Wolverine confronts him, and he's like, oh, don't tell me you were going to leave without saying goodbye, and then Morph points the gun at him, and he's like, goodbye. He gets ready to open fire. I'm like, oh shit, that's amazing.
Think about how ballsy that was. Like, the first episode of a children's show kills off one of the main characters.
And this is a show where they don't kill anybody, and, like, there's no violence ever unless it's on robots. Like, yeah, Morph died.
Yeah, it was a cool and ballsy thing because they showed you that the Sentinels meant fucking business. So they were a genuine threat.
And when they introduced Apocalypse, by the way, like, he was scary. There's a part where everybody's firing blasters at him, and he just, like, lifts his hand out and starts monologuing while he's being blasted. He's like, you are no match for the whatever. I'm like, oh god, like, how do you fight this guy?
But yeah, they did bring him back into the comics, though. They kind of, like, completely revamped him, but he's a cool character. But yeah, well, getting at what my original point was, Chris Claremont did an amazing job, and he made, like, all of the sagas that you talk about when you talk about, like, the best X-Men stories, including Days of Future Past and Dark Phoenix, which have both been made into movies. Dark Phoenix has been made into 2 bad movies.
Dark Phoenix is a weird, awkward saga anyway, but it's also one of the more famous things to happen of that era in the X-Men.
The comic is great. I don't know if you ever read it.
You can't reasonably adapt that. Even now it'd be hard to do because it's just all sorts of weird space shit.
Yeah, it does go to space. Whenever Marvel went into space, it was always a fucking weird thing. But, like, Guardians of the Galaxy made it cool, but it was never cool in the comics.
That's the thing. Like, when when comics escalate, it's like escalating to space. Now we've hit cosmic threats, but, like, Guardians of the Galaxy is a grounded show that happens to exist in space.
Yeah. But, X-Men, what I was going to say is, I started following up on Chris Claremont's run. I do have the Dark Phoenix saga, like, trade paperback. I do have Days of Future Past because these are big deals. So I bought these when I was younger.
I wanted to see Peter Dinklage in the comics.
Well, who was he in the show or in the movie?
Trask, the creator of the Sentinels.
Yeah. But I got the original, the start of his run, so I could actually see what led up to the Dark Phoenix, because, like, what makes the Dark Phoenix saga interesting is the stuff that came before it and what it changed when it happened.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
So I wanted to get the proper context. So I'm like fully into it now. Like I'm all about it. So anyway, we could talk about this for hours, but I just wanted to say that I'm into that now, and I've been looking into the early Claremont run at the moment. And also, real quick, happy birthday, Persona, like the entire series,
25th
sub-series.
Anniversary, yeah,
25th anniversary. So, and this is the Japanese release, so.
Yes.
And there are quite a few bummer moments here. One that hit particularly bad.
A bunch of really significant people that maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't, but you've heard of their work, for the most part.
So the first one is Sir Clive Sinclair, the founder of the microcomputer company from Britain. The Sinclair Spectrum.
Yeah, I was going to say he produced the ZX Spectrum, didn't he?
Yeah, the Sinclair Spectrum is like the big one.
Which that wasn't really as much of a thing in America as it was in Europe, but even I've had some experience with it because Jetpack is a mini game in Donkey Kong 64. I have technically played a Spectrum game.
Jetpack is actually really fun.
It's not bad, yeah.
And it's easy to see why Rare, who was who were they originally called? It's called like Play It the Game or something like that. But anyway, Rare's original incarnation made probably the best ZX Spectrum games on a system that had very poor graphical capabilities.
Yeah, if you look at screenshots, I mean, even me,
even for the time, they were bad.
Well, that's true. But like, even me knowing better because I've played a Spectrum game, the Jetpack. Like, whenever I read a Hardcore Gaming 101 book and he talks about like an NES game, it was ported to a million things, including the Spectrum. And I always look at the Spectrum.
It's always a shitty port. It's always a shitty port.
Oh, God, like what is this? What is this? But like Jetpack plays pretty well, actually.
I actually recommend. It is currently on Xbox consoles. You can play it on your Xbox Series through Rare Replay. There's actually a bunch of games. They have Solar Jetman, which was on the NES, which is one of the sequels. They made Nightlore and Saberwolf before he was a character in Killer Instinct.
That's the thing. There are certain things that companies do that are nods. Like Saberwolf was a game, not a character. Yeah. They did the same thing. I didn't realize this for like decades. But the spider boss in Resident Evil 1, I know I'm going to Konami now, or to Capcom now instead of Konami. Mm-hmm. But the spider boss, Black Tiger, because it's generally black and it has stripes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a reference to another Capcom
had
game.
A video game called Black Tiger, yeah.
Oh, wow. I just noticed that right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just pretty interesting. But I mean, these computers were really popular at the time because they were very inexpensive compared to their competition. So a lot of people had them. In a time where there was a big recession in Europe, it wasn't so bad in America at the time. In fact, there was quite a boom at the time. Reaganomics. But a lot of these games were like super cheap and were put on cassette tapes, and you could buy them at like a convenience store or something like that rather than an electronics store because they were so cheap. You could buy one for like $5 or pounds, I guess, or whatever, So it was just what people played, and Rare made the best ones. But hugely influential in the gaming scene over there. We had the NES back then and Commodore 64, and they had the ZX Spectrum. So this was a big deal. So it's a shame, of his passing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll let you go with the next couple of them.
Yeah, there's a few here. So there's rest in peace Reuben Klamer, who I don't know if you recognize his name, and I didn't either, but he created the incredibly popular board game The Game of Life. So
that game's even popular in Japan. I don't know if you were aware of that.
I was not, but yeah, it's a basic concept. You spin a kind of wheel. I'll just call it a wheel, and you move.
It's like almost like a Wheel of Fortune wheel.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay. And you move your character, which is a car, through various places that are kind of life things.
Milestones.
Do you want to go to school or just go to work? Yeah, like you land in a space. So you get married. Put another little person figure in your car. You could have up to 2 kids, I think. There's mortgage you got to pay. So it's stuff that you expect to encounter at some point in life until you finally reach the end
including
and
realistic
retire.
setbacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
You wrote the next great American novel, gain $10,000 or whatever. But like you eventually make it to retirement, and then you take whatever achievements you've gotten, and even your children, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And cash them out. You just convert your kids to cash. And whoever has the most cash at the end of the game wins, which is, I guess that's a cynical way of looking at things.
I think it's cynical commentary. I'm going to go with that.
Well,
because
speaking of cynical commentary, though,
yeah.
How about your house and your job? It's like a luck of the draw. I'm a rock star. Oh, I'm not. Oh, well, I guess you just start with more money than I do. Your salary's just better than I do. So when you land in a salary space, you collect $100,000, I get $30,000. Oh, man.
A lot of people don't realize this, but Monopoly is also a cynical commentary. But
Monopoly intentionally brings out the worst in people's predatory behaviors, like just punishing people for existing. When you get rich enough, jail is actually a safe space.
Yeah, no, it was invented by Quaker hipsters.
And just to further the point of the message of the game, when I forgot the first name, but when Darrow bought, I think, the rights for Monopoly, they sold it for dirt cheap so as not to, like, ironically capitalize on their anti-capitalism game.
Yeah. I mean, it was supposed to be commentary. You were supposed to learn from it.
And it takes place in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Yeah, which is
it's
even
this ritzy
funnier.
tourist area.
Yeah, it's also the sleaziest place on Earth, and still is.
You got your Mediterranean Baltic Avenue, which are worth nothing.
Next step, Baltic. But I'm referencing my own post on Facebook, where me and my wife dressed up as Uncle Pennybags when we bought our house. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Did you have a... Well, now I'm flaking again. I'm flaking on names again. Did you have a Mandela effect moment when you realized that he did not wear a monocle?
Oh, he didn't?
Nope, did not.
Oh, okay. Well,
isn't that crazy?
There you go. Maybe he needed a monocle. I never think of that.
Well, you know what it is the other Mr. Peak Capitalism is the peanut guy.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Peanut.
Oh, he actually is. Yeah, with his cane, his, like, decorative, like, non-essential cane, top hat, and he does have a monocle.
There you go.
So, yeah, like, it's very easy to conflate them, especially when you picture a monocle as, like, pretentious rich person, because, like, nobody wears functional monocles. If you have a problem with only one eye, you'll still wear glasses or contacts or something.
It was just one of those things I think they did before, like, two were affordable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My right eye is better. I'll wear a monocle on my left eye. I don't know. But yeah, the Game of Life, I played that a bunch as a kid. It holds up. It actually does.
And I was going to mention that in Japan, the PlayStation 1 has one of the oddest peripherals because of it.
Is it the wheel?
The Game of Life wheel controller.
That's bananas.
Yeah, you got to look it up.
And then also, rest in peace, this is someone that I don't imagine a lot of people our age would know very well. I know her from one thing, but Jane Powell. She was a movie actress primarily in the 40s and 50s, like from 44 to 58. And then she appeared in 3 things after that as like one-offs, like 75, 99, and 2003. But she's been in a bunch of stuff, like 15 things or more. I primarily know her because my mom's into old-timey musicals, so I knew her as the main character of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which is a...
I've seen a nice sequence from you.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm the one that showed it, because I was like, look at this. It's a legitimately good movie where she's just some random person working in town. I think she's like a milkmaid with like the cows and stuff. And this guy who lives in the middle of nowhere, like in the mountains, he's making his yearly trip to town for supplies, where he goes to the general store. And he's like, you know what? I could use me a wife to help keep things around the house going steady and stuff like that. So he meets her. Seems like a really charming guy. You want to marry me? You know what? Okay, sure. So they get married. Then he goes back home, and whoops, his house is a fucking sty. And he has 6 brothers who are animals. And he's also kind of an animal. And she's like, oh, fuck, like, what have I gotten myself into? So a lot of the movie is her, like, civilizing the brothers and teaching them to act like human beings who are not just pieces of shit. And, you know, she brings them to town and, like, gets them involved in, like, a square dance thing, which normally sounds like the kind of scene that, if I'm going to skip anything in the movie, it's this. And it's, like, one of the best sequences in the movie, with this huge square dance where, like, the folks from town and the 6 brothers are trying to, like, out-impress the other to win over the 6 girls. What a coincidence. It's 6 all the way through. This is perfect. To win them over. And it's amazing. And there's also a barn raising sequence, which also sounds like something I would hate, but it's very well done and well shot, and the townsfolk are just being dicks and picking on the brothers until eventually it devolves into a fight, and it is a shockingly good fight sequence, considering it's an old-timey 1950s musical. It's legitimately well done, and this predates shaky cam by decades, so you can see what the fuck is going on. That's also nice. It's like, you know, like a Bruce Lee movie where it's like one shot. Let's just watch the fight, please. Like, it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like this might sound weird coming from me, but I recommend you watch 7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's a couple more. Yeah, you want to go on this one?
So the next one was Mick Mcginty. This was a pretty big bummer too, because he actually contributed a ton of art.
Childhood art that we knew but never knew who drew it, because why would we?
Yeah, because it's not like you get a lot of like ownership of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's not a big artist's signature like it's his Renaissance painting or something.
But in particular, a lot of American box art for a ton of 16-bit era video games. So
yeah, like it's pretty westernized. It's not like absurd like Time Gal or something, but like, you know, a Japanese person didn't paint this. But
yeah, it's still definitely done in the American comic book style.
Yeah, which is not quite what they look like in game, but at the same time, it's not a butchery. Like, these are definitely the characters, and they are doing what they do in the game. Like Street Fighter 2, Mike Bison, Jesus. M. Bison's doing his, like, flip kick thing. Like, they got this down.
Yeah, so he was most famous for basically doing all of the covers of Street Fighter 2. All the different versions of Street Fighter 2, including the Super Nintendo and Genesis versions, like the Turbo version, the Super version. He did all of those. He did the cover for Streets of Rage 2 and Streets of Rage 3. Streets of Rage 2 in particular is just like a fixture in my brain.
Yes. And by the way, like, if you're ever wondering, oh, is this the same artist? Look at Max's face on Streets of Rage 2, and then look at the Street Fighter 2 cover, and look at like some burly guy's face. Like, yeah, that's him, all right.
And he's also famous for accidentally inventing the Don't Walk Man. People have pointed out that the cover of the back cover of Streets of Rage 2 has a guy whose face is obscured by a "Don't Walk" sign. But it's perfectly like on his shoulders, like obscuring his head.
You know what that reminds me of for comical box art. Have you ever seen like what they say about GoldenEye 64?
Oh, yeah, the hand tumor thing.
Yeah, his hand holding a gun is positioned in just such a way that a horizontal line on his hand looks like it's connecting to his lips, so it looks like he's a giant face
and
tumor. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, it's really funny. He did the cover for Kid Chameleon, which was, this cover, like, really, really appealed to me when I was a kid. Yeah. Also, Shining Force, which is a classic cover. I really love that cover. Tricea, and also like the spin-off Chicago Syndicate game of what's that fighting game? Eternal Champion spin-off for the Game Gear. Yeah.
Jeez, what?
I also played this game a lot. Soul Feast on the Sega CD because it was a pack-in and it was a shmup.
That. I think I might even have that. Yeah. If I don't, then I have the Sherlock Holmes thing.
Yeah. And, quite a few other ones. But there's some really good, iconic, covers in here. Leisure Suit Larry 6. Wow, I didn't even know about that one. And a bunch of Zood Tycoon covers. So yeah, I mean,
this guy's been working.
Yeah. Really cool stuff, and sad to see him go. It's a shame. A lot of his art was fixture and still is a fixture in my life. So
yeah.
And the final one was, oh my man, like nobody expected this. It was like a huge shock.
This one.
If you don't know about this, I don't know where you've been.
Yeah, this is one of those that actually affected me. Like I've said this about Kentaro Miura as well. Like usually celebrity deaths don't genuinely like personally affect me, but this one did. So
rest in peace, Norm Macdonald, one of the greatest comedians of all time. I don't think that's going to be disputed anywhere.
Yeah, it turns out he was fighting cancer for like 10 years, but he'd been keeping quiet about it. So like, it was a shock to us because he never said anything, but it's been there the whole time. And if you look up some of his like later acts, you can kind of like he's been hinting at it by having it be like material in his acts.
Yeah, he talked about. I know a recurring bit he had was that he was talking about like going to the Mayo Clinic, and he's just like, oh, I go to the Mayo Clinic because I like to get myself checked out, make sure I'm okay, and like you don't just go to the Mayo Clinic. Like the Mayo Clinic is like one of the #1 hospitals in America for very rough things. So it's not like you just go there and pay them a bunch of money and make sure you're okay. You go there when you're in trouble. So like I think a lot of people just thought he was just saying that.
There was another act where people thought he was just saying it, but this was also telegraphing. This is the thing where if anybody has heard this joke, every single one of them has been using this as an RIP for Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
But he was talking about cancer specifically, where he says, like, what's obnoxious is when somebody dies of a disease, and it says, oh, they lost their battle with X disease or with cancer or whatever. And it's like, well, that's insulting, isn't it? The last thing we get about these people is that they lost. They're a loser. I wouldn't want that. That's embarrassing. Not to mention, like, cancer is a growth in the body. Like, I'm not a doctor, but when you die, your cancer dies at the same time. That's not a loss. That's a draw. Yeah. So, like, 1,000 people all over the internet were saying, like, Norm, like, had a draw. Like, it was good stuff.
It also must be said that he was also, and we're going to talk about this in CC. He's also a pretty self-destructive person. So, it wasn't entirely, like, unfounded. Like, it's just, he smoked a lot. He smoked a lot. And drank a lot, and had very bad gambling habits, like publicly terrible gambling.
Oh yeah, I've seen videos where other comedians like talk about him. Like he would just bet tons of money on. I forgot if it was the horse or the dog track.
He lost his entire fortune twice. Apparently, yeah. He was just so good that he at being a comedian he was able to bounce back. But like,
that's insane.
Like. Imagine being a millionaire and just losing it because you're, a compulsive gambler. Like, it's insane. But anyway, not a perfect person. Let's just say that. But undeniably unique and funny as all hell. We will talk about him more on Thursday, but goddamn, a big loss. And he will be talked about in... the same circle as Richard Pryor and Lenny Bruce and all the
Rodney
other
Dangerfield.
Influential comedians that we've lost. George Carlin. He's going to be up there.
No, I was also going to say Rodney Dangerfield, who Norm himself took inspiration from.
Yeah, exactly. So there are people that like other comedians have said that they wish they could be as funny as him. Like. Other comedians worship the guy because he broke all the rules and didn't give a shit whether he did so. And
I've heard comedians say, and I've seen on comments, like, if anybody else said this joke, it would have bombed.
Yeah, exactly.
Norma just kind of works.
It's just kind of like one of those things. Like I this is unrelated, but like Zach Galifianakis was talking to Jerry Seinfeld in his like comedians
with cars.
In cars getting coffee. He said like I kind of have this problem, Jerry, that whatever I do, people think that I'm funny. And he said, I got up to the podium when my sister passed away to make a speech, a eulogy, and people started laughing. And Jerry's just like, you are so funny that even the idea of you is funny. And that's really the long and short of it.
Yeah,
even you just being there, your mannerisms, like everything that composes of you reminds people of laughing at the things that you've done before.
Yeah.
Like you are just so good at being funny, and the entire package of you reminds everybody of it. And he was one of those people. He could just give you a look and make you laugh.
Yeah, he really does have that effect, even on just video.
Yeah, he just gets that twinkle in his eye when certain things are about to happen or be said by him.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, it's coming, and boy does it ever.
Yes.
It's just one of those things. But we're gonna have an entire episode on him, so we'll talk about we'll keep talking about that. Our show ran very long, and I kind of knew it was gonna happen just because of the amount of crazy stuff that happened this week. But do you have anything else to go over here?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture and talk about the greats of comedy. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much everything.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right. Well, we'll catch everybody on Thursday then. See ya.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.